Well, you could have. You could have.
Could have.
Yes, I'm sure that we'll get ones and twos of users today.
It might. It just might.
I think so. So we're just here to chat about the week that was in the open source space, right? So nothing too crazy, but we figured why not just go out and see what's happening, right? And then, yes, we are live on LinkedIn. I just double checked, so we are there. It looked like there were actually 2 people who tuned in. So hello, 2 people.
Hello,
2 people. We're happy to have you here. We're just here to talk a little bit on Friday afternoon, the water cooler talk. It's the end of the week. We want to chat a little bit about some of the happenings in the open source space, see what else is going on there. Just have a little bit of fun with it all, right? So Avi, this has been an interesting week in terms of like the open source space. I don't know if you have been paying attention to the news.
I saw some things, and I don't know what you're coming in with, so I'm excited.
Well, hey, let's just get right into it.
Let's
just do some hot takes here, and we'll just see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to share the screen of doom here. I need to update Chrome, but that's okay. So let's see. What do we got? Hey, did you see this, Avi?
I did.
Someone posted on GitHub Twitter source code. And
was it like the whole thing, like the whole code base?
The whole thing, because I didn't look at it. It was pretty much gone by the time that I was there. But so they did push code out there. They think it was a malicious person. So what is Elon and Twitter going to do? What do you think?
I mean, they already had plans to open source. I thought that Elon said there's like a specific date that they were going to
guess what?
Source it anyway.
It is today.
It's today. Oh, wow. Is it open?
No, they just announced that it would be today. But this only came on the heels of the other thing, right?
Okay.
So I don't know if this was a direct response to say like, oh shit, people have already grabbed it, so now we have to save face, or if they were actually going to do this. So evidently today in oh my gosh, about 43 minutes or so, or 53 minutes rather. We're supposed to have some sort of Twitter algorithm that is open source.
I mean, I personally I've said this on Twitter before, that I don't think that open sourcing Twitter is going to be very useful entirely. I think it'll be symbolically good, but I can't imagine there's going to be a whole lot of like, ability to really understand the algorithm that Twitter is using, because there's just so much of the data that's proprietary that goes with it. So I'm curious what this will actually affect. Personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is probably like the bigger thing here. But here's what it's going to affect is once people know how to game the system, you are going to see all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Coming onto Twitter. Because if you know that, like, if you do X, Y, and Z, you'll get a higher ranking, you'll show up more, you're going to start doing it.
Yeah, which maybe does make some of the changes that they've been announced to like the For You feed a little bit more reasonable, that like you got to be verified to get in there basically, because this is going to quickly become a bunch of bots.
But is this just a game then to get people to do the verified?
Maybe. Yeah, it's possible. But the other thing that I will say here is that more platforms should be open sourcing their code, and if this is like a big move from such a large organization like Twitter doing this, like that bodes well for more platforms doing the same, which is good.
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be open source, and I mean,
I love the idea of being able to write my own feed algorithm. Maybe this gets us one step closer to that. I don't know.
Only if you're a verified blue customer.
Yeah. I mean, I'd maybe pay $8 a month to be able to write my own feed.
What? No, really?
Probably not, but maybe.
No, like, yeah, no, you're not going to. Anyway, so evidently, stay tuned, because at like noon, 3 p.m. Eastern, we're supposed to have something. And I'm going to be really disappointed if it's like a slide that just says like, if A, then B, then C.
Yeah, I mean, I predict, and this I'm very serious about. I believe that largely the algorithm is just one big matrix multiplication of just features and
What?
weights, and then yeah,
Mm,
I mean, what else is it? What else would it be, right? Like, it's a machine learning algorithm basically.
yeah, yeah. Anyways, all right, fair
Yeah.
enough. All right, so anyways, what do we got here? So other news of the week. I just saw this. This is brand new. So Bloomberg
Oh,
launches open source funding initiative.
I have not seen this.
Yes, they'll award up to 3 grants of 10 grand each voting cycle. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
I feel like we are seeing more and more of these kinds of programs, which is awesome.
I mean,
Do they say,
yeah, it's a drop in the bucket, but
I mean,
um,
yeah, yeah.
here's the first 3 are Apache Arrow, curl, and celery.
Interesting. Um, Why those projects?
It's voted. It's like a voted, like
Oh,
you
it's a
vote.
voting
Yeah,
system.
yeah. For the first round of nominations, Bloomberg invited anyone working at the company's engineering, data, and products. So their engineers voted internally who should get the grants.
Huh. I love seeing curl in there because it's just like the canonical example of that really deep dependency that doesn't get enough love for how widely used it is. I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious what people's like thought process is to vote for something like that because it's it's harder to justify, I think, sometimes. But I love that.
Yeah, so new funding from a company doing grants. Now, if we can have 100 other companies do this, that will put some serious dollars in it, right? So, you know, 10K just a drop in the bucket, but it's at least a start.
Yeah, I'm curious how this is going to. Yeah, I'm curious how you think this will like shape. What kinds of projects get started? If there's going to be more projects that are like tailored to these kinds of programs, if this will kind of move the needle in terms of what things people decide to start working on, or if it's going to meaningfully move things around.
Don't know.
Yeah,
Don't know, but interesting none the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So next up, speaking of more investment and things in open source. Oh, look, the Senate has cleared the open source bill. So do you know what the open source bill is?
No.
It's basically a way for to ensure that open source is used safely, securely by the federal government. And it's supposed to be something that forces like requirements on like SBOMs and a few other things. I don't know all the details, but it's basically to focus on securing and making open source more secure. Yeah, and it was after the Log4j thing that this got a lot of press. But anyway, so it's moving along.
I'm very curious. Yeah, these things. This seems like a very good direction for things to be going. I'm curious how well this is executed.
So let's see. So U.S. open source bill. Let's see if it. What's
like? Do you know any of the like open source policy folks that have opinions on this?
Yeah. So Amanda's been heavy into like this for both. It's surprisingly she's done in the U.S., but she's like connected in the White House and other places. So
not surprised.
Specifically, this is sets forward the duties of the Cybersecurity and Information Security Agency (CISA) regarding open source software, perform outreach and engagements to bolster the security of open source software, support federal efforts, coordinate non-federal entities and efforts to ensure the long-term security of such software, serve as a point of contact regarding security of such software. Yeah. So, so basically it's trying to spend some money and create a government agency to get involved here. But this is actually on the heels of I don't know if you saw, but there's an Ubuntu Pro now.
Oh, whoa. No.
Yeah, so I saw this.
What's in it?
So
it's free for up to 5 PCs.
Yeah, so it is a subscription that is a support subscription.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go. Let's see. So timely patching, it's supposed to be like a single source for support and everything else. Um, and it's also supposed to give you, I read it was supposed to give you support for common open source uh, things like Vault or like Postgres or like these other things, right?
Wait,
Um,
Canonical is offering support for Postgres.
Well, so this is what it said.
Hmm,
Now hold on a second. Let me find the original article um
that's
on
interesting.
this that I read because I didn't pull that one up. But let's see. So Nikes. Let's see.
I mean, it seems like they're. I mean, that would imply to me that they're like really going for like the general software marketplace kind of play.
Well, so the article that I read, let me
Really ambitious if that's what they're trying to do.
yeah, so
I
let's
mean,
see.
go Canonical. I hope it goes well.
All right, it was on the news stack. Here we go. Let me pull
Ah,
this open. So let me pull this one open. This is the article that I read earlier. All right, here we go. So Ubuntu tackles the challenge of open source enterprise adoption, right? Um, so this is where it was really interesting. So it was talking about like, oh, the security is a big concern, and so we're going to patch more, and we're going to have more, kind of certified binaries and like the thing um and so you'll get continued support and services, but um increased support. Ubuntu Pro can be combined with up to 24/7 enterprise grade support coverage for Ubuntu operating system. Additionally, it can cover open source infrastructure like MOS, LXD, Kubernetes, OpenStack, Zephyr, Swift, and
that's
then
so
Kafka.
interesting.
So this is okay. So okay, couple thoughts on this, right?
Yeah.
A few thoughts on this. Here, I'll zoom in for those who are watching, just so they can see what I'm seeing here. Um, so okay, so two things. Number one, this is a distribution.
Right.
You could buy support for Ubuntu before, just like you could buy support for RHEL. I right now am skeptical of all of this, like, oh, we're going to have the curated open source software, because in my mind it's just another distribution that's just maybe like less bleeding edge or more like structured on when they update,
Right.
right? That's really all that you're talking about when we're talking about like like these curated repositories. So in this case it's almost like a rebranding, but the fact that they're offering this additional support, one of two things is going to happen. Number one, there's a lot of companies out there that support just one of these technologies. Okay. So this is something that a lot of the cloud providers, as part of your cloud service, will say, oh yeah, we'll offer you support on these types of technologies.
Right.
So now this is an attempt. Now I don't know if Canonical is actually going to connect up with service providers and then do partnership deals to say like, this is all part of it, or they're going to try to do this on their own. It doesn't
Right.
say that, right? But
Doing it on their own, like, I mean,
it's huge.
if they manage to actually do that well, I would imagine
Well,
that being incredibly lucrative.
yeah, and I mean, this is where I think this is going to present a problem, because it is a massive issue, right? So think of just like Kafka. Okay, how big is the Confluent support team?
Probably pretty big, I would think.
How big is their engineering team that's working on bugs and fixes? Probably pretty
Pretty
big,
big,
right?
probably.
And that's
Yeah.
one of these technologies.
Right. Yeah. It's just like, is it actually reasonable that you can provide real support for all of these things in a meaningful way?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe that indicates that they are indeed actually partnering with the service provider. Like maybe they are partnering with Confluent to provide
I don't know,
Confluent.
but
But
because it's saying
I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean,
$500 for a server,
but the other thing that it's hard for me to imagine wanting. Okay, if I am an application developer. I'm a business that has like a whole system in the cloud that we're managing and operating. I don't really want to be locked in to Ubuntu's package sets. Like
Yeah.
I want like if I need to upgrade my Postgres version for some reason and Canonical tells me, "Oh, well, we package this version and that's what we support." Like I don't want to be locked into what their package sets
But
are. I want full control. I'm shipping a microkernel basically.
this is the duality of this, right? Is like you can either go out there and get the version that you want and potentially risk, having some security vulnerabilities or some things that haven't been caught, or you can use one of these curated repositories, whether it's from Canonical or Red Hat or Google or whoever is going to come up with the next authoritative list of secure software, right? But if you want to buck that trend, you can. But then, like, obviously, that's like where they're going to be like, "Oh, you're risking this."
Is this use case more for like the laptops that the
It
employees are
says
using at
servers.
your company,
It
or
says
is this for?
servers.
Oh, this is for
It says
servers.
servers and workstations.
It's so yeah, that's so interesting. I guess personally, like I feel like we're going. I thought that we were heading more in the direction of for instance, like just fully home rolled dependency sets that people are managing, and then they get support for the things that they want rather than this. But maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know.
Yeah, not 100% sure.
I'm really curious to see where this
Yeah.
goes. When did this launch? When did they announce
This was
this?
this week. So all this is from this week, March
Okay.
29th.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I think that this is a really big move and a really big offering by Canonical, and I'm very excited to see what happens with it. But I wish them all the best with it.
Yeah. So other open source news. I saw this, so you could probably appreciate this.
Oh, yeah, I probably will.
Do we need a new license? So this is
Probably
actually
not, but maybe.
someone who does a 3D printer maker. So keep in mind this is
Okay.
hardware, but one of the weird things about this is, hardware tends to borrow all the software licenses in the open source space, right? So it's definitely something that we see happen quite a bit. And here it's like how do we do this? So let's just look at like the ways that he suggests. Okay, so and I'll link to this. I'll follow up and clean this the video up, and we'll put a link in the bottom just in case people want to follow this. But here's what he says that he thinks that you should do to prevent leeches and people. So you have to maintain the original code. Authorship must be clearly stated on the product.
Sure.
A production of nearly exact one-for-one clones for commercial purposes is not allowed.
What does that mean?
This is a little it's a little squishy, right? Like
Wait, is this the exact text?
So
I don't know if this is like a summary
this
or
is a
if they are
summary. This
saying
is a
verbatim.
summary. So
Okay.
because
if they say nearly, I'm like, what the hell does nearly mean?
So this is again very detailed, right?
Yeah.
Actually, no, this is directly from his thing. This is directly in here. So I just jumped down to like the summary of what he thinks, right? The new license should address these more clearly. Okay. Just address it. He's not saying that it should be worded specifically this way.
Okay.
So the production of nearly exact one-to-one clones for commercial purposes is not allowed. All right, fair enough. Licensing for manufacture spare parts is valid for service modification. So it's the right to repair. Okay. Upgrades and additional modifications based on original parts are allowed and welcome. So you can upgrade it, you can change it. All right, fair enough. Parts that are considered consumable can be manufactured and sold commercially after verification by the licensor based on presentation of samples. So if you're going to put together a part, or in the software case, maybe an add-on, it has to get some sort of verification. If the product is labeled by the manufacturer as obsolete, non-commercial clauses automatically terminated. Identical parts are no longer produced. Blah blah blah. Okay. And the licensor ceases its activity, then the non-commercial clause is terminated. So if you stop supporting it, then it becomes even more open source.
That's kind of cool.
So give credit, basically you can't make a commercial offering that directly competes. It's not a one for one. It's kind of squishy what that means.
Yeah, I think that one is the most
And then
problematic
if you
one.
stop commercializing it or stop, doing it, then someone else can pick it up.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. I mean, this definitely seems further from like an open source kind of model than other
True.
licenses I've seen
True.
suggested to be open source. Um, but I personally I like the efforts to balance commercial protections for the company with keeping it open for everybody else. I'm a fan of
This
that.
comment right here, right? So a couple different options. The second option is legislate open source. Never a good idea.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, the bills that we were just talking about are kind of in that direction of legislating open
True.
source. As soon as you're talking about public money around it, committees like it's going to get regulated.
This is true. All right. So you know what else happened this week? You know what happened in the world of open or AI, right?
Yeah.
Open
Wait, but
letter.
are we done with
Let's
license
go.
stuff?
Oh yeah,
Did
let's
we
be done with
do?
license stuff. You want to go back to the license stuff?
Well, I was just going to say because the other big thing that happened this week we didn't talk about, which was the whole Minio thing.
Oh, you want to go to the Minio thing? All right, let's go to the Minio thing. I didn't even pull it up.
Maybe just really quickly.
Explain the Minio thing.
Okay, so Minio, they do object storage for Kubernetes. Big company, open source. Everything is good. Apparently, another company, Weka, has been redistributing Minio without proper attribution. And Minio, apparently, I guess this is the part where maybe I need to double check kind of all the details, but basically publicly called them out and revoked their license to the Minio software, basically saying that everyone up the downstream from Weka is now out of compliance with Minio's AGPL and Apache 2 license, if I'm remembering the details correctly. Yeah, but it basically prompted this whole conversation of like, what is the right way to be enforcing licenses, and can you actually revoke Apache 2 license if notices are not given, and how does that work? That's about where my understanding goes. Did you have any thoughts about this?
I'm just reading through it. So they didn't just do it with Weka; they also did it with Nutanix.
That was a while ago, if I recall correctly. That they did, but yes, they did do that. It sounded like with Nutanix there was a little bit more communicating with them directly before they went public, but maybe I'm wrong. I guess I should be double checking myself on this stuff. It's just that this is my understanding of the situation.
Yeah, so this is where it's funny because like Apache 2 generally has a fairly liberal license, right? And so I don't know the details specifically here. And I'd have to go through and look to give a firm comment. But there are cases where somebody's using your open source software, you're not getting what you feel is due to you, and then you kind of like go, I'm going to take my toys and go home. And so that does happen sometimes. I don't know if that's the case this time. I'd have to dig in more, but it does look like that there is some kind of like fringy stuff. I see like Nutanix said like, yeah, they used a small portion, client library, whatever, and they removed it after, discussing with them. But yeah.
Right. And I think, the Weka side to this is like that Minio is using a very non-standard interpretation of kind of what the notice obligations are, which is interesting. And like it does bring into question, kind of what am I trying to say? When we rely on these kinds of licenses to enforce things that protect a business, protect, copyright, it's inevitably going to kind of lead to some of these situations where people need to enforce their copyright.
Yeah.
And the way in which people do that, it just leads to messiness, unfortunately. And I saw some people saying, oh, this is great that it's happening in public. I see other people saying, wow, they really should have gone to Weka directly before they blasted them publicly like this. What do you think about this, like doing it privately, directly, versus doing it in public?
Yeah, I think you should go to someone to clarify first before you go public. It's just being a good citizen.
But it's interesting because there's not too many examples in the open source space of situations where you should really do something privately.
So there was an issue in the Postgres space where someone who's part of the community grabbed some trademarks in a country where certain things weren't trademarked.
Oh.
And I know kind of like ancillarily some of this. And so there was some back and forth behind the scenes before it went public, where it was like the trademark holders in both Europe and the US kind of sent something that said like, hey, this isn't cool. You can't have that trademark. And you should pass it over to the foundation or the organizations that run it. And he was like, no, I'll hold it just like you hold the trademarks in your countries in mine for the good of the community. And so that caused some back and forth. And then it went public after, a certain number of months. So that's definitely something that I think we've seen happen before. And I know that there's been cases where, people have asked or, said, like stuff like, oh, we assume you're doing this thing wrong. Right. And, they might even have like, what they consider proof. But then when you dig in, it's like, well, no, you just completely misinterpreted. So it's always best to go to the group and the people directly, talk to them. If you need to do it through lawyers, you need to do it through, some sort of legal, thing, then that's cool. You could do that, but you want to protect yourself. But at the same time, I think I think I personally, I'm going to first talk directly one-on-one with someone.
I'm inclined to agree with that. I would rather promote positive things than negative things if you can. But sometimes you don't have a choice if you just can't come to agreement privately.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Now we can move on.
Okay. Now we can move
because
on.
Now we're here to pay homage to our Skynet overlords, the great AI. Although there's been
I submit.
there's been a disturbance in the great AI, which is lots of people calling for a halt to AI, kind of like
oh, I didn't know that Elon was one
of
the people.
Elon was one of the people.
That makes okay, that's why this is getting so much attention.
So there's been like this call for a moratorium on AI development because Skynet's coming. It's funny because when I read these articles, and there's several articles, I just happened to pull the first one off the news stack here, is when I see like these people, it's almost like people going like, oh my God, I'm losing, like, I'm falling behind in like the race for AI. Everybody just pause for 6 months, let everyone else catch up. So then no one has, too far of an advantage.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, let's slow down innovation. I don't think that's going to ever work. But there's been a lot of other talk about this. So, we've got new ChatGPT open source alternatives starting to pop up, right?
Oh, wait, which one are we looking at here?
So this is
I'm trying to find
a good Colossal one Chat
right now. Oh, right. Is this available already? There were a couple that were like announced, but they don't actually exist yet.
Let's see. So Colossal Chat. So chat.colossal.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It is live. There you go. So you can check that out, and I might play around with that. There's also, let's see, there was also a couple. So Colossal, which is out there. What else do we got? I think there's Dolly, right? So Dolly.
Right, which is Dolly's not really open source though.
Databricks didn't open source Dolly. It's just the language.
Oh wait, sorry. Oh, that's the Databricks
one.
Okay, sorry. I'm Okay, no. I'm thinking of Llama.
Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
let's just be weird there. But all right, fair enough. So there's a lot of these new AI models coming out. So I think that there's quite a bit.
The Databricks one is kind of funny because yes, it is an open source one, but it is a Databricks notebook.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't looked. Yeah.
I tried to run it. Like you have to have a Databricks account to do anything with it, unless you like kind of just port all of it over. But like it doesn't like, it is open source and that anyone can download it and distribute it. But it's hard to run it without a Databricks account.
Yeah. So I get that. Anyway, so all right. So how we're gonna end this today is we're gonna pay homage to our AI overlords, to the great and wonderful Skynet. We've talked about the news today.
Always.
So
yes.
We're going to end this by having the AI overlords tell us what we should talk about.
Oh, good. Wait, also, is this a desktop app? Is this a Chat GPT desktop
No,
app?
this is a browser.
Oh, okay. For some reason, it looked very native. Cool. Okay.
So, are we ready? What?
Yes.
Are the biggest issues open source businesses face? Okay, that's what we're going to ask, and we're going to talk about it.
All right.
Because I'm an equal opportunity AI abuser, and we all have our things, I'm going to run that there. But I'm also going to go to Bard, and I'm going to run the exact same thing in Bard. And so we're going to run these two. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Monetization is the number one issue that open source businesses face. Intellectual property and licensing. Competition. Okay. Resource management. I think all companies face that.
Yep.
Community engagement.
Common.
Okay. Oh man, this is taking a while. Let's see what Bard is. Bard's done. Bard has 5. Bard has 5. So okay, why don't we just start with Bard's list, and then we'll come back and we'll review the OpenAI list.
Bard.
So the top 5 concerns that open source businesses face, challenges. Number 1 is security. Open source software is often seen as being less secure than proprietary. As the source code is publicly available and can be easily examined by hackers.
That's true.
Yeah, but it can be easily reviewed by people who fix the bugs too. Like,
what do you think is faster?
What do you mean?
Okay. I have an open source product. I open source it to the world. Who do you think gets to me quicker? The hackers or the researchers that come with very friendly security fixes and advisories?
I think it depends. It could be both. There's a lot of white hat hackers out there who make a lot of money off of bug bounties and stuff, especially for large open source projects.
That is true.
But yes, you're right that there can be certain exploits that are found quicker. But I think that you are going to potentially find them more rapidly than you would in a proprietary piece of software with more eyeballs. So it's the more eyeballs.
Right. I guess I don't mean to say that proprietary is generally more secure than open source, because I don't think that's true. But I do think that I do think it's just it's also true that opening yourself up to hackers a little bit more to show them behind the curtain a little bit does help them.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. Okay. So number 2,
I don't know
support.
Either. Yeah.
Okay. Open source software is not supported by a commercial vendor. Oh, you know what? Again, we'll zoom in.
Please. Yeah.
Sorry. All right. Is not supported by a commercial vendor, which means the businesses need to have the in-house expertise. No, they don't.
That's more of a problem. This is kind of directed at companies that are using open source.
So Bard, you failed me. You failed me, Bard.
Come on, Bard.
Yes. So you failed me. All right. Well, so do we just stop there because this is like obviously this is
Licensing, compliance.
so okay. Let's try this. Let's
Not
try
really.
re-answer. Redo your answer. Redo your answer. But
I mean, we should tell it that support is wrong and
companies
compliance is also kind of a weird one.
and open source company selling and open source. Let's try this. Let's see what it does.
Sure.
You do your answer. Oh, geez.
Okay.
So
Okay.
companies typically offer
that's just
a variety of services. Yeah. So
this is
not great.
wow. Bard really missed.
All
This is not the structure of an answer we were looking
All right.
for.
Let's go back to OpenAI.
Sure.
Okay. So, unique set of challenges, right? Some of the biggest issues they face: monetization. That is actually probably a big one, right? How do you make money off of open source in the space? Especially, how do you do it without alienating the community?
Yep.
That's a very big deal. So I would totally agree with that. And I think they actually have the three main ones, right? Commercial support, premium features, and managed services. They don't offer professional services. That's probably the one that's missing. So like consulting. That's not so bad. Intellectual property and licensing, striking the right balance between protecting IP and enabling collaboration. That's a really good one, right? So, if you are monetizing, what's in the open core version, what isn't? Do you do a license? What sort of license should you use to still allow openness?
It's well put. It's well stated.
Okay. Competition. Okay. Open source projects often face competition from both proprietary and open source alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. I think the thing that's missing here is a lot of times the competition is their own open source project.
Yeah.
I think that's one on that.
A little bit of nuance missing from that, but still a good answer.
Yeah. So resource management, attracting and retaining skilled developers. I think that's everybody. So
I mean, so is monetization, right? Like, the biggest challenge you'll face as a company is making money. It's like, well, yeah, that's true.
It's very true. Yeah. All right. Community engagement. Okay. Yeah. You need a healthy community. I would buy that.
True.
Right.
Also probably true for most companies, I would say too. It's although different in open source, but like
security and quality. The quality of open source software can be challenging, especially with a diverse set of contributors. So how do you ensure that people have different code levels submitting code? I guess that's an interesting take. I mean,
yeah, I almost feel like some of these are like the things that a lot of people say very thoughtlessly of like, yeah, your company, you build software, you're going to struggle with that software being secure. And it's like,
but no, this is actually, this one actually goes into the contributors, right? So, your ability to write code is different than mine. And it's different than, someone who's in, a completely different space. And so it is entirely possible that you have, the, tapestry of really weird, different, things coming in. So I mean, and it says invest in, automated testing and code review process to ensure, and I mean, yeah, you could say that's universal for everyone.
That's also, but
exactly. I think it is a unique challenge in the open source space where you have people who are distributed, different skill levels, all trying to contribute code. You might write the same thing 10 different ways. Which one is the best and most secure?
Right. But I think that that's heavily offset by the fact that the variability that you're getting comes without paying for it.
Yes, this is true. This is true.
So just like, oh shit, I got this free, work that someone did for me, and it's not the highest quality. That's such a challenge.
But there's a lot of open source companies that don't really take code contributions or take them very sparingly because of that.
Totally.
All right. Scalability and performance. This one's kind of iffy. Like there's a lot of open source software that is really performant.
I mean, there's also just a lot of open source that doesn't have to scale. Like
That's
if it's
true.
like a locally run app or something, it just
Yeah.
doesn't
All right.
matter.
Marketing and branding. Open source businesses must effectively market their products and services to gain visibility and differentiate them. That's everybody, right?
Yep. But true here
True.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially
Yeah.
if you have to dual brand, right? Like,
Right.
open source
Right.
versus,
Yep.
your company.
Hmm.
Legal and regulatory compliance. I mean, it is true that a lot of open source software uses a lot of other open source software. So the derivative works in making sure that your licenses work together.
It does come with
Yeah.
its own regulatory challenges, certainly.
And-
Certainly. Less than some other department industries though, for sure. Um,
yeah.
you know, we're not having to, I guess, well, open source is part of all those other industries, so I guess never mind. I take it back.
There you go. All right. And then
Yeah.
finally, the long-term sustainability.
Hmm.
Maintain funding and support even as the project matures and the market evolves. So this is true. It has a long tail. So how do you make sure that it continues to get the care and feeding? I mean,
That's more about a project than a business, I
I think
guess.
it's both, but
I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
So there we go. Our AI overlord has told us what we should all be worried about when building an open source business.
Thank you, AI overlord.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously.
Are you gonna tell ChatGPT thank you?
Thank you. Did it do anything? You're welcome.
There you go. We got to be nice to them because one
One
day
day they will,
one day they'll
Here,
remember
let's
when
ask,
you were
what
rude.
should I do over the weekend?
Ooh.
Let's ask. Because it's almost the weekend, right? Oh, what? It depends on my personal interest. I want them to just dictate my life.
Yeah.
It tells me I should catch up on sleep, read a book, and watch TV. So I think I should go do that. What do you think?
Which of these are you going to? Yeah.
No, the first
Okay,
one.
yes, I agree.
I'm
The
lazy.
first
I'm
one.
just going to stop at one. I'm not even going to move on. Like, I don't even know what else is being said.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. So reading is not one of the things that you'll be doing.
Maybe I'll read. I don't know. But
I just mean because you weren't reading any more than number one.
all right, fair enough. All right. Well, that's the news of the week. We've tested the AI overlords. We've talked about Twitter. We should be like T-minus like 13 minutes for the Twitter open source. Let's see if it's open yet.
Oh, really? It's happening at noon. Noon.
That's what they said.
Okay. Oh no, I didn't see. I just didn't know exactly what time. That's awesome.
Evidently. Yeah. Although maybe it's already been leaked, right? So yeah, I don't see it yet.
I see the blog post. Oh, yes, it's out.
Oh, is it?
It's out. Here, I'll send you just github.com/Twitter.
Oh.
Twitter's open source website. Oh, wait. No. That's their. No, that's not twitter.com. Wait, maybe it's not. They put out a blog post today.
Huh.
Oh yeah, no, the algorithm. Wow.
What is it's a repo?
The repo is called the-algorithm. Holy crap.
Updated 3 minutes ago. All right.
Yeah.
So let's see. We're
Wow.
gonna.
Okay, let's dive into this. Can you show? Yeah. Whoa, fun.
All right. So let's see. Where did I put the Twitter algorithm? So, blah 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 blah. All right, here we go.
Good to know that there's still a lot of Scala.
Oh, look. Okay. So here's the system diagram, which social graph tweet engagement features.
There's a folder called annoy common.scala. Wow. Oh, good. There's definitely some type astronaut stuff going on in here. They're using thrift. to serialize their data types in between stuff. I guess it's all going to be like finagle stuff, right?
Yeah.
I just want to actually look at their
Oh wait, they have an engineering blog on how it works.
excellent. All right, I'm looking at the where
Candidate
is
sourcing. Rank each tweet using a machine learning model. Apply heuristics and filters.
Scala.com Twitter. Wow. Oh, there's also the algorithm-ML, which has a lot of the machine learning stuff.
Ah, yes.
Whoa. I want to see the okay, so the algorithm's got a lot of Python in it, which is not super surprising. But wow.
Ooh, look at
What I
this.
want to see is
Avoid
the
too many
dependencies.
consecutive tweets from a single author. So, like if you tweet a lot, you're going to get downgraded.
Yep.
Feedback fatigue. So if they haven't engaged.
That's fascinating.
Anyway, so this is going to require a lot more digging, right?
It is. Oh, it absolutely is. I just want to see like, oh yeah, we got like a Bazel build. Oh, here we go. Seeing like what open source packages they're using. Bazel to build stuff. Not a surprise there. Timeline Ranker, a legacy service.
I got a little Rust in there. Oh, it's under AGPL3, your favorite license.
God damn it.
Your favorite license.
So does that mean that Twitter needs to be fully open source then?
Probably. Anyway, so a lot there. We'll have to dig in. So go, everyone. Tell us how to beat the system, how to game Twitter.
Or tell us something interesting about Twitter's code base so we can talk about it.
There you go.
I think we can go dig into some weird stuff that evolves in a company over many years of juggling lots of developers.
Indeed. All right. That's it for our Friday live stream. The water cooler's empty. It's time to go off and get ready for the weekend, finish up whatever work. You've got a few hours left. I've got a couple hours myself, but you have a lot longer than I do.
I do. It's time to prep for a board meeting next week. All right. On that note, yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Have a great weekend.